How did the world's most advanced air defense systems turn into a helpless pile of metal in just 60 seconds? How did one of Russia's most secure supply lines become a graveyard? The convoy of 23 vehicles you are currently tracking was carrying ammunition to end the battle at Avdiivka. They had Panzer systems with them, ensuring their survival. For the Russians, it was safe in the air. But something was approaching that radars couldn't see, that military doctrines couldn't explain. How did a pilot's gamble, impossible with a single Su-25, wipe out Russia's entire logistical backbone in that region? What were the clandestine tactics of this attack, which on paper seemed like suicide? We are now beginning with a technical analysis of those 60 seconds, when a convoy was wiped off the map, and then a real-world analysis of the operation. The primary target was the air defense systems, the convoy's greatest threat. When the Su-25 fired its first laser-guided missile from 11 kilometers away, the lead Panzer system was still moving. The moment the missile struck, the Russian army's $15 million air shield in that sector was disabled in seconds. At this point, let's share a critical piece of data. Independent sources confirm that 40% of the vulnerabilities in Russia's air defense network during this war stem from low-altitude blind spots. With air cover eliminated, the convoy turned into a complete hunting ground. The pilot released all 80 S-8 rockets from under the aircraft, spreading them across a 4-kilometer stretch of the highway. The result was a total logistical disaster. 3 of the vehicles were ammunition trucks. The chain reaction from their explosions effectively turned nearby infantry carriers into fuel tankers. In particular, BTR-82 armored personnel carriers were hurled to the roadside by the rocket's shrapnel effects. With no escape route left and trapped among the metal wreckage on the highway, Russian crew members were forced to abandon their vehicles and scatter into the fields. In just a few minutes, approximately 200 tons of ammunition that Russia had planned to deliver to that area was reduced to ashes. According to current data, Russian army logistical losses are no longer measured solely by the number of vehicles. This attack completely halted Russian logistical supply to the Avdiivka front for a full 8 days. The destruction of a single convoy means thousands of soldiers on the front line are left without ammunition and fuel. For Russian units whose air support and armored protection have completely evaporated, the highway is no longer a transit route but an open shooting gallery. The latest data from the field and high-resolution drone analyses prove that the Russian army in this sector has lost not only its vehicles but also its unit integrity. The scene of destruction now reflected on your screen serves as documentation of how a modern army has been logistically paralyzed. At this stage of the operation, we see that 70% of the reinforcement forces Russia sent to the region were destroyed before reaching their destination. Particularly, the losses suffered by logistical support units mean the end of ammunition for Russian infantry on the front line. While exploding ammunition trucks create massive craters that render the highway unusable, it is impossible for surviving vehicles to overcome these obstacles. However, the most striking detail is the reaction of the Russian crews. In the footage, we observe that even lightly damaged armored vehicles have their hatches left open, and soldiers refuse to fight, fleeing toward the nearest forested areas. This is the greatest breaking point an army can experience, the collapse of the chain of command. The moment Russian soldiers realize that steel heaps no longer protect them but instead turn them into targets, they abandon millions of dollars worth of technology to its fate. Focusing on confirmed losses in the sector, on this route alone, 14 modernized armored vehicles and 5 heavy transport trucks were completely disabled. It may take months for Russia to replace these losses, but the lost strategic momentum cannot be regained. By turning the highway into a fire corridor, Ukraine has driven Russia into a logistical dead end. Russian units now face a single choice: either continue to be targets in this open area or withdraw, leaving all their heavy equipment behind. The scene we are witnessing is clear: Russia's image of an invincible armada has once again been shattered on the dusty and smoky asphalt of this highway. So, what will be the Russian General Staff's next move after such a massive rout? Or is this flight the harbinger of the collapse of the entire front in the region?
Плюс. Козаки працюємо. Цей день настав.
It's time to go beyond the phase of destruction and analyze, in the language of numbers, the massive wreckage this war has created for the Russian army. In this final section of the video, we're laying out on the table the real cost to the Kremlin's coffers and military inventory from all the explosions, retreats, and strategic mistakes we've described from the very first minute. The devastation inflicted on Russian armored units from the first hours of the war to the present day has reached a scale rarely seen in modern military history. According to visually confirmed data from the independent monitoring organization Oryx and international intelligence reports, Russia has lost more than 3,000 main battle tanks in this war so far. This figure is not just a simple number. It means that nearly half of Russia's active tank inventory has now been turned into piles of scrap metal. From T-72B3S to the most modern T-90M Prorov models, the destruction spanning this range has imposed an astronomical bill on the Russian defense budget. When we examine the financial damage item by item, the picture becomes even clearer. The average unit cost of the 3,000 destroyed tanks varies between $3 and $5 million. The cost of tank losses alone to Russia has exceeded $12 billion. However, the biggest wound is in armored personnel carriers and infantry fighting vehicles. More than 5,500 BMP and BTR derivative vehicles have been destroyed, damaged, or abandoned on Ukrainian soil to date. When these vehicles are calculated at an average cost of $1 million, an additional $5.5 billion bill emerges. And what about air defense systems? The Panzer S-1S, Tor M2S, and S-400 batteries that were touted as impenetrable at the beginning of the video. Russia has lost more than 150 advanced air defense systems in this war. Considering that a single Panzer system costs around $15 million and an S-400 battery around $500 million, the price Russia has paid to protect its skies reaches $20 billion. When total military equipment losses are combined with ammunition expenditures and logistical costs, the Kremlin's direct military losses have long surpassed the critical threshold of $100 billion. But the most painful part of this destruction is not the money, but production speed. While the Russian defense industry can currently produce an average of 20 to 30 new tanks per month, it loses an average of 100 tanks per month on the battlefield. In other words, Russia is losing the race against time to replace the technology it has lost. This situation is turning Putin's army from a modern force into a museum army, dependent on 1950 Model T-54s pulled from storage. As we conclude our analysis, we must emphasize this: Russia has lost not only dollars and iron. The Russian army has left its title as the world's second largest military power in those highway graveyards and drone attacks. Thousands of trained officers, technicians, and tank crews are gone forever. You can replace an army's money, but you cannot rebuild decades of military tradition and experience overnight. The numbers we have examined today are not just war statistics, they are the portrait of an imperial dream's logistical and economic collapse. While Ukraine's resistance is rewriting military strategy books, for Russia, this process is dragging it toward an irreparable military bankruptcy. Today, we examined with numbers the process that stretches from the behind the scenes of that 60-second destruction on the M3 highway to the Kremlin's multi-billion-dollar military bankruptcy. In an era where modern warfare is this transparent and this ruthless, the realities coming from the field show us one thing: numerical superiority always kneels before tactical intelligence and determination. What do you think about this picture? How will this massive logistical collapse that Russia is experiencing affect the ultimate outcome of the war? Or has the era of tanks completely come to an end? I'm waiting for your opinions and technical analyses in the comments section. I'll read each one individually and continue the discussion there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the latest data from the field, military analyses, and confirmed footage from Ukraine. In pursuit of the truth, we'll meet again in the next video with strategic analyses. For now, goodbye.